Right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liza Kors, founder and CEO of Embello, influencer marketing agency dedicated to home and lifestyle. Welcome to our Embello webinar series, where we dive into various social media and influencer marketing topics. I am so excited today because we have Pinterest's very own Jeremy Jankowski with us, who will be going through his presentation, Pin Like a Pro, where we will all become experts on Pinterest. So, hi, Jeremy.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
I'm stoked to be here. I'm excited to get in front of this crew.
Yeah, so for those of you who do not know Jeremy, just a brief bio. So with over 15 years experience, Jeremy has delivered record-breaking revenue results for companies such as Glam Mode Media, Refinery 29, and most recently through his work for Domino Magazine. So some awesome experience there. Jeremy currently leads the home and design vertical for creators at Pinterest, where he regularly engages with influential voices to create original content on the platform while shaping the future of home and design content on Pinterest. So lots of really great intel that you can give all of us here. I know we at Embello, I mentioned to you, we really love to push Pinterest as part of our campaigns because we see such wonderful and great results. But also, there's so many, especially with, social media, there's always new and exciting things going on, things evolving, and people really want to know how to be successful on Pinterest. So we're super excited for your webinar today. And I will shoot it over to you, but I wanted to just mention that we do want it to be very interactive. So feel free if you have any questions as we go throughout, make sure to submit them and we will try to answer them live as well. So I know I'll have questions, I'll be taking notes, but feel free to add some questions as well. So Jeremy, I will let you take it away.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here. Welcome to everyone to the presentation. I have an extensive background in ad sales. And so the revenue part of my brain is always in the front of everything. And so I think that's why this collaboration makes a lot of sense. And it's exciting to hear that you've had success on Pinterest already. Just a little quick backstory. I came over to Pinterest. I wanted to go to a social network because publishing is shifting and changing so much in a space. And when I was at Domino, Pinterest was such a must buy because of the mindset that you're in when you're on Pinterest. You're there to shop. So 9 out of 10, 400 million global users, 9 out of 10 come for home decor content and to shop. And so it was a win-win. Yeah. And Pinterest has always been a place where you discover products, ideas, and inspiration, but not really people. And so 3 years ago, we introduced the ability to create original content in a beta form. And last year, we launched it officially. And so I'll dig into the presentation. I will hit on a few points. Please ask as many questions as you want. I try to not go completely off script because I find that boring and redundant and zone out. But essentially, the reason Pinterest is interesting is it's very different, right? So Pinterest is known as one of the kindest corners of the internet. And that's because news doesn't really make sense on Pinterest, which it's all about visual discovery and finding things that you like and you want to build and plan around. And so inherently, Pinterest is just a very positive place to build on. As we talked about earlier, I run the home design and lifestyle vertical at Pinterest. What me and my team do is very new to the industry overall. A lot of these social platforms have creator management teams now that help creators actually build on the platform as if they were a huge publisher publishing to the internet. And so before we dive in, I wanted to share, of course, that Pinterest is changing as a platform. We've evolved. For over a decade, we've highlighted the great ideas you can find and curate on Pinterest. Now we're showcasing the people behind the ideas, so you, the creators. And we're encouraging users to follow creators and build a community. And so here's a look at the different areas that we'll go through. Some of it I'll skip kind of through fairly quickly because it's a little self-explanatory. And if you have questions, again, please throw them in the chat and I look forward to answering them. And so creators have a ton of channels to publish on. So why would you publish on Pinterest? And so on Pinterest, you can get back to the reason you started creating in the first place. And that's because you love what you do unapologetically, right? Again, we're this place for inspiration, for creativity, do, plan, build something. And so, and you're in it now, you can connect with the people who are digesting and understanding the things that you create as a creator. And so people come to Pinterest to pay attention and actively search, not just passively scroll. And so that's one really important key differentiator about Pinterest is it's evergreen content. So it's not this game of continuously producing more and more content. I have idea pins that I launched a year ago that are saved almost every single day. I was at a Better Homes and Gardens event last night, and I met a creator who was like, all my holiday pins go crazy around the holiday timeframe. So it's not like other social networks where it just goes to the wayside.
And that's something we notice too in our campaigns. It's not always that instant gratification, but it is that longer term, game. And again, have a pin from last year that's going viral again because of seasonality, which is so wonderful,
Exactly.
for the brands that they are, working with. And like you said before, we talked about this prior, when people go to Pinterest, they're already set in their mind as to, making a purchasing decision or being inspired by it. I just bought a new home, and so I've been looking at different paint colors. And so of course, like the first thing I do is Google, like, what are the best green paint colors? And I see all different blogs that inform, and I save it for, a later time where I am going to make that purchasing decision. So I know you'll talk more into that, but that's why, we love Pinterest.
I love to hear that. That's exactly, the selling prop behind it. And so people are going to not just like your ideas, they're actually going to try them, right? Because it's kind of like the masterclass of social networks. And on Pinterest, inspiration is the new influence. And so we really, our goal as a company is to bring everyone the inspiration to create a life that they love. Again, we have over 430 million global users on the platform. 9 out of 10 come for home decor content. We have over 5 billion monthly searches and over 330 billion pins that have been saved.
I did not know that. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, so it's a huge pool, right? So if you're in this realm, the home and design realm, and you're not building on Pinterest, you should be building on Pinterest because it's obviously a bit of a startup inside of Pinterest, but 5-10 years from now, I can't not see this being the biggest part of your media mix from a promotional perspective as a creator or an influencer or a business.
Yeah. And that's so true because a lot of content creators, there's obviously different social media platforms, and they're like, where do I invest my time? It takes a lot of time to create content. And I know, we talk about repurposing and things like that. But knowing where Pinterest is going, I think really helps creators understand, okay, this is where I should be investing a lot of my time and where my potential brand collaborations are going to be the happiest.
Exactly. And so it plays into the fact that it's a visual discovery engine. And so it really gathers signals from the billions of pins to surface the right idea at the right moment. Currently, we're focused on save rate. And so that is your idea pins or your static pins or your video pins and the amount of times that they're saved divided by the impressions. And the algorithm is currently, if something is saved, it flags to the algorithm, hey, this piece of content was so interesting to a pinner that they saved it, which is the ultimate compliment. So we're going to serve this up even more in search. And then again, just reinforcing what I just said. This to me is like the value prop. When you're building your ecosystem of content, I like to say you shoot one set of assets and then you figure out what works on each platform. And so I use this as an example of a time that I went to the botanical gardens when I first started at Pinterest. And so this was my trip was on Twitter. It's, hey, I ran into my ex at the botanical gardens with a funny hashtag, very timely, kind of witty. If it's on Instagram, it's a very glamorized picture of me with the cherry blossoms behind it. And then this is what it would look like on Pinterest using an idea pin. And so you can tell it's voyeuristic. Someone will come across this. Maybe they have a board for traveling to New York City. They save this to their board. They're going to open it back up. It really makes you want to actually go there and inspire you to explore the botanical gardens and all that's in there. And then this is what it would look like on TikTok. So sheer entertainment, it doesn't actually have too much to do with the physical location of the botanical gardens, but it's entertaining because that's the ethos of TikTok. And so timely, editorial, actionable, and entertaining. And then this, from a business perspective, this is how you should be thinking about your media mix overall. And so this is using Kelly Wearstler as an example. She was very early to adopt creating idea pins and content on the platform. And so 3 years ago, when she worked with Farrow and Ball, or one of her brands that she does promotions with, she could only offer them her 1.9 Instagram followers, and then she had a little bit of a following on TikTok for promotion. She can now offer them those two things, as well as throwing in Pinterest, where she's 5.5 million monthly views. And what's interesting about throwing in Pinterest, if you're a brand, you already know that you convert much better on Pinterest than you do elsewhere in terms of sales. And then this is just another example of how we can all sit together at the lunch table. So the inspiring try, do, act, purchase idea pin lives on Pinterest, and then it's shown off on Instagram as a final product.
This is actually a really good and point here, because I know a question we received was, how do I repurpose content that I'm using, on other social platforms? And another question that we received as well is, we're seeing a big push in video in other platforms. Is that an initiative that Pinterest, is also doing as well? And maybe you can talk into, because you give really good examples of, Kelly Wearstler, repurposing content here.
So that's a great segue to this slide. And so these are the 4 ways that you can upload and create content on Pinterest. And so there's something called the idea pin that I've talked a lot about. It's very malleable. If you have a story to tell, the idea pin is the best place to go. You can tag other creators, you can tag products, you can upload a standard pin, which is just an image that you upload. So like I have a lot of fashion content on Instagram, and I'll upload just those images because the way that I styled myself could be inspiring to Pinners. And the way that you design a room, the finished product, that could also be inspiring and saved to someone's board. And then we have basic video pins. And so some people will put teachable content across all platforms and use a video pin. And then carousels. And so carousels are just image galleries that you swipe through.
Yeah. And what are you seeing at Pinterest be the most successful? Because sometimes even with our campaigns, we're idea pin versus a standard pin. I know you can include links in one but not the other. And I think maybe it seems as though one might be idea pin gets pushed maybe a little bit more as opposed to the others.
Yeah, so that actually, this is a great question when someone asked that as well. We were initially, the algorithm was favoring an idea pin because it was the new fish in the pond, if that makes sense. But as of 2 months ago, all pins are favored equally based on save rate.
Got it. Okay. So that's what you were talking about before, is if people are saving it, you guys are marking it as this is great content that people want to see. The more they're pinning it, then the more you will be pushing that out. So the overall goal is more just to continue to get repinned, but that also kind of goes hand in hand. So maybe you're not pushing it, but we have to think about the consumer, what's most engaging for them. What are they going to pin, right, for later? Are they going to pin a video, or are they maybe going to pin a blog that they can reference in the future, kind of thing?
Right. Exactly. And then, okay, let me see. And then, okay, so going into the idea pin a little bit more. So idea pin, this is our newest native format to create content. And then it'll continue to grow. We'll continue to tweak and invest in this because we think it's a differentiating factor for us. And it's really meant to be a tool to share your passions. You can give your ideas some flair. There's video editing, there's sound effects, there's interactive tools. You can again tag products. You can see the pin before it publishes, and you can also create chapters of content. So you could do a really easy step-by-step in this. Recipes do really well in this as well. And so these are just the various built-in video recording capabilities of the app. And then here's adding sound effects. One quick thing on sound, and this is pretty standard across the industry, we offer a copyright-free library of music. And so you're welcome to utilize any of that music because it is all copyright-free. If you're bringing music to the platform, so if you're downloading, and we don't encourage this because watermarks do get deprioritized because it's not signaling that this was made for Pinterest. But if you were to download your creation from a TikTok, for instance, and it had, I don't know, Madonna in the background, you don't technically have the rights to distribute that. So you want to be cognizant of not utilizing that music when you paste it elsewhere.
Okay. That's actually really good to know that it's preferred on Pinterest that you use music that's already as part of the platform as opposed to bringing music on.
Right. And if you have the rights to it, so let's say you do a brand campaign and that brand says, hey, I have the rights to this, you're allowed to use it, then that's totally fine too.
Okay. And I know we had talked about this, separately on the idea pins and video. And you were talking about how, the idea pins can start with a video to sort of get the person engaged, but then be, still images
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, because in the idea pin, if you think about it, right, when you go on Pinterest, it's a waterfall of content. And so if you think about where your eye is going to go, if this thing is moving, you're probably going to check this thing out first. And so we do encourage you to use video, at least on the opening slide. It's not the end all be all, but it does help you get chosen over the other pieces of content, just in the nature of the way your visual mind works. And then just to answer the question about saves being a huge driving factor, we're actually amidst trying to figure out exactly what drives saves. My perspective is that recipe content, of course, it's going to be saved because you're going to come back to it. I also think home content, of course, it's going to be saved because you're planning on doing something to your home. You're rebuilding this, you're remodeling your kitchen. So of course, you're going to save all these things to come back to. The one area I think there's room for us to think more deeply about is fashion. And the reason I think that is because if I see an idea pin of someone put together this amazing outfit and they product tag the shirt, let's say I click the product tag, I go buy that shirt, I might not save that pin because do I really need to come back to it? I bought the shirt. And so those are things that we're starting to think about by vertical.
I think that's a really interesting point because it almost seems like Pinterest was a home first platform, where some of the other platforms maybe started in beauty and fashion, and then they were trying to figure out, how to make home work. So the fact that it is so successful for our industry is so great, which is a great point. And I think too, even thinking about what you save, as a consumer, thinking about why did you save that and creating content, around that. Is it because it was a future recipe or a future, tip? I mean, again, I'll mention, like, I'm painting. So there was a blogger that mentioned like how to really make sure the paint, trim didn't get messy or whatever. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that could happen, but I need to save that for when I am painting, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So I guess going back and thinking about what you save as a consumer while you're creating content.
Yeah, and that's actually, I mean, that's a great rule of thumb. If you put yourself in the person who's consuming this and why you use the platform and think about it that way as you're creating content, that's just a great rule of thumb that we inherently don't necessarily always think about. So I love that point. And then the editing tools, yes, to your point, Hugo, they're pretty great. And they're actually pretty advanced. We acquired a company called Voci a little over a year ago, and they brought over some really cool tooling and techniques that we use in the app.
That's actually a really great thing to hear from someone, because we had a couple webinars prior to this and influencers did not like the editing tools on Instagram and TikTok. They would prefer to edit outside of the platform. And it's great to hear that you've invested a lot in this so that it can all be done within your editing tools.
Yeah, and we'll continue to invest and make tweaks. So that's why you always want to make sure you have the most up-to-date version of the app. And then this just shows you kind of how the idea pin publishing tools look from an interactive perspective. And so custom fonts, you can tag other creators, and then there's a host of stickers within the app. And then shopping recommendations will also pop up under your idea pin. So it will scan the pin, and it'll sometimes at some points it'll show pinners additional recommendations. We also have something called virtual try-on stickers. And so in the home space and in the beauty space, certain products within Pinterest are actually AR enabled. And if you tag one of those products, it will pop up to try it on with Pinterest Lens. And that you can take your phone, you'll see the chair, and you could physically place the chair in your home. And so it's really important when you're creating an idea pin, or if you're selling something for a brand, if they have AR enabled pins, you want to make sure you tag those, because it's an additional way that the pinner will utilize and consume your content.
So the brand has to be set up first, though, in order to.
Yes, there's about 10 merchants, West Elm, a lot of the bigger guys that are AR enabled, and a little AR button pops up when you search a pin, and it's AR enabled.
Got it. Okay.
And then this just shows at the end, you want to make sure before you publish, especially number 2, the center, you want to make sure that your writing is not going over the inherent icons that are to the right of the idea pin, and that it's syncing up with everything, and it gives you a little preview of how it will look.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also download your idea pin. It'll come out in a video format, and we're very friendly with the other platforms. You could post that to your Instagram stories. You can use it wherever you want as well. So we want you to keep the thing that you create on Pinterest. And then the most important part of this, again, Pinterest is visual search. And so when you're doing an idea pin, you go to the topic tagging section, and you want to search and tag. I think you can tag up to 8 topics that are relevant to this pin. And it's so important that you tag the topics, because when someone is typing in search, you want them to type in a topic that's been tagged to your idea pin, so your pin pops up. It's just another way to.
So this, just like a Google search, you would want to sort of tag as much as possible so that it pops up.
Exactly, because it's that evergreen content.
So this is a must. Do not skip that.
This is a must. This is one of the most important steps. Yep.
Okay.
And
What's
then
the instructions list.
So there's also something called the details. This is the details tab. And so you can either choose from ingredients, supplies, or notes. And it's a tab that pops up at the bottom of the idea pin, and you can click it, and ingredients and step-by-step written instructions pop up for a recipe. Or if you're doing like a home project, you could write out exactly like step 1, I trimmed the baseboard. Step 2, I painted X, Y, and Z. Step 3, I used a drop cloth and did X, Y, certain things. And the consumer can actually hold on to that. It'll copy the full text, and they could save it over to their notes app if they want. Or you can create a checklist to go to the grocery store, and they can save that checklist to their notes app if they're making a recipe.
Okay. And then it looks like we have a question that came in. When it comes to home design, do you suggest watermarking? This was a question we received before too, with your name or brand. I feel like it takes away from the image, but we've heard both arguments.
I think with watermarking, like if I'm using like an Adobe Rush to make one asset that I'm going to later tailor with fonts or tags to a specific platform, I've used watermarking. I think it's you get more value if you tag yourself using Pinterest. So a lot of our creators at the end will say, don't forget to follow me, and then tag themselves versus instead of using watermark, because you can actually click that tag and it opens up your profile.
Yep.
And then with product tagging, you can use affiliate links. There's an option to search across all the products that are uploaded to Pinterest. And then there's also an option to upload your own link. To be transparent, we don't have all affiliate partners onboarded, so you have to test it out. If it doesn't work, it's something that's going to continue to build. We don't currently offer servicing to ensure that everyone's affiliate links work right now. But 9 times out of 10, I will say they do work.
Okay, yeah, because we did receive a couple questions on the linking, and one was how to best to link store items to gain followers and get sales. And then
that would be where you want to see if the product is in there already. 9 times, especially if the brand is enabled with Shopify, because there's a button you can click in Shopify and upload your whole catalog to Pinterest. And so there's a ton of products already floating around on Pinterest. But if you have a specific link, you can click the link and add the link to it. And a product tag will pop up. And then you can set the duration as to how long that product tag will show in the idea pin.
And then for the link, do you support any link shorteners?
So we don't, it's going to shorten the link automatically. So when you add the affiliate link, all that will pop up is a picture of the product and like Samsung TV. It won't say www. But when you click it, it'll drive out to that pin within Pinterest where that link is stored. And then you click the pin and get out to the actual store.
Okay. So you automatically, I guess, shorten it.
Right. Yeah. So the consumer doesn't even see the actual link.
Got it.
And then in terms of actually embedding a link to the idea pin, we just finished a round of testing where we were putting in the details drawer. The team is going to, and we removed that test. And so over the next 3 months, we're going to be testing where a link could go that makes sense and gets a better click-through rate. So that will be coming because we know brands want you to be able to click out to their website or their landing page.
Yes. That's great news.
And so I love this from Sarah about millennials are older and that you're growing frustrated by video taking over platforms. I couldn't agree more, especially when I flip on Instagram. Like Kylie and Kim said, I miss pictures of my friends. And so you're going to see a lot of changes because we no longer, I think Pinterest before I got here, and this is just my own observation, I don't know this for sure, was probably favoring video, but everything has now been weighted equally in the platform. And so we're doubling down on being us and not trying to be other platforms. And I personally, as someone who loves social media, feel that in 10 years, I look at it like the Super Bowl. Like I'm not going to want to see the Super Bowl for 24 hours on every channel that I watch because I'll have already seen it. And I get very frustrated. I see the same things on TikTok that I see on Instagram. And so we're really trying to get people to differentiate the content that they're uploading and putting on Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
And then this just goes into the services of Pinterest. And so this is your profile page. The curated tab is all the original content that you've created. The save tab has all of your, all of the boards that you've saved, all the pins that you've saved. And then you always want to put a description, and a quick tidbit about the description. If you use an idea pin, the last slide on your idea pin will automatically pop up with your profile photo, your name, and this description. And so in my description on Pinterest, it says follow for all things personal style, because that gets pulled into the end of the idea pin. And I want people to consume my idea pin, see that at the end and go, oh, I want to follow this guy because I like his style.
Yep. So that's another must.
Yeah. And then this is within your app. And so we have the browse and watch home feed. And so browse is a lot of content that comes from the waterfall within Pinterest, and watch is a lot of straight up video and idea pins within the app. And this tests and changes around. So just make sure you have the most current version of your app, because sometimes this dichotomy between browse and watch, the team is figuring out, do we need 2 separate tabs? Is there a better way to make the algorithm work to put the pinner first and make sure they're having a good experience?
Okay. And what I'm seeing a lot, even through your examples, and to kind of go back to like Sarah's comment about, you know, video is like there's some video to it, but you're not eliminating the still images as well. So it's sort of still a combination of both.
Right. Yeah. So it's a combination of both. And like we've made a few key hires over the last 6 or 8 months, people that came from YouTube. And they put into practice measurements that allow all content to be favored the same, because you choose the format based on whatever you're trying to create. So it should be the creator's choice to figure out which format tells the best story with whatever they're trying to create.
Well, and it sounds like you're listening to people on what they're actually saving, as opposed to just pushing people to only save video is what.
Right. Right. We're not trying to push you to save whatever we think is great. We're trying to push you to save whatever the platform and the audience thinks is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the following feed. And so this, you can click into through the browse tab, you can click into just the people that you're following instead of the full waterfall search. And then this waterfall search. And this is obviously the main thing. We do things where you can be featured in the inspiration tab. We actually have an editorial team at Pinterest that will round up different things that live within the today's inspiration tab. And so you see this example, wonders of brutalist architecture to awe at. And so someone from our editorial team rounded up pins and idea pins around this topic, and we put it out as a section of the app. And then this just goes into some best practices. And so great content on Pinterest inspires people to act. Again, keeping with our brand ethos of inspiration and creativity. You want to create often. Our guidelines are not perfect right now, right? Because we're actually doing something that's never been done before. We have 440 million people on the platform. They're used to link sharing and just searching images. So we're teaching them a new way to interact with Pinterest overall. We have seen if you're creating 1 to 2 idea pins per week, that helps you grow because you're consistently putting things out into the space. And then
Sorry, that was actually a big question we received prior to the webinar is how often, should I be posting? So it seems like 1 to 2 idea pins is a great place, to start.
Yep. Yeah, 1 to 2. I say 2 to 3, but if you want to dip your toe, it's just the consistent publishing. And then if Hugo, I'm completely aligned. Malik and Nadine are amazing. There are two latest hires over the last year at Pinterest. And then created on Pinterest. And so our new tools make it easy for you to publish directly within the app. Again, just capitalizing, you can use video recording, editing, stickers, filters, an extensive copyright-free music library. And we want you to not just upload from somewhere else. We want you to create content that's specific to the platform. And so watermarks or repurposed content does not perform as well because it's signaling to the system, again, that it wasn't necessarily made for Pinterest.
Got it. Okay. So that's a good point to make as people are potentially repurposing content, making sure that none of those watermarks are there, and always using and creating through the app is preferred.
Yep. And then it's also good to talk to your audience. And so we're seeing some luck. And again, these are hypotheses. These are things we're seeing at the moment that are creating engagement within the platform. But talking to your audience. So Tommy Lee does a really good job of this, where he does something where he's teaching and then he breaks into talking and then he teaches and then he breaks into talking. You don't have to do this, right? You can do simple carousels. I have one creator, she has over 3 million followers and she makes a lot of carousels. You don't have to be the YouTube personality in front of the camera either, because this is really all about what makes sense to get your idea out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, just reinforcing video, thinking about the waterfall and the visual nature of search. You can also add text overlay and then a call to action. We recommend that. And last looks before showtime. And so there's a preview mode. Make sure you check out preview mode before you publish your idea pin. And then engaging with your audience. And so since January 2021, the number of users who engage with an idea pin from a user they follow has grown by more than 3x. Takes is a product that we currently have on the marketplace. It's something, again, we're also testing and toying with, so you might see this change and evolve over time. But if you want to do something that's Takes enabled, you click the advanced settings and you click Takes enabled. And what that allows the consumer to do is, let's say I publish an idea pin on a cheesecake that I'm teaching you how to make. The consumer can see that idea pin, they'll make the cheesecake themselves, and then they can hit the take button and upload a picture of their cheesecake to your idea pin. And so what you end up having is this recipe that's makes this beautiful cheesecake, and then all the people below it that tried the cheesecake and their images of the cheesecake in their profiles. So it's another way to engage with the community.
So this is a new feature?
This has been out, I think, for 6 or 8 months. And this is something we're always refining and figuring it out. I think like all social media, you also get a lot of people who just want to pop to the top and maybe they're not using the take in the correct way. And so we're trying to figure out really how to train pinners and understanding that this is meant to show off the creators creation. And so you'll continue to see this product evolve as well.
Okay.
And then make your content shoppable. Pinterest is the shopping destination. The more product tags, the more that you can allow the consumer to digest your content and make ease of use and getting to what it is you're trying to sell them or show them, the better.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like that's done through the product tagging,
Right.
The shopping stickers, right?
Yeah, so the shopping stickers will come up automatically based on visual. It doesn't always, it comes up on some pins, but you do want to make sure you're product tagging. So if you love this certain cheese grater and you're making a recipe where there's grated cheese and you want to tag the OXO cheese grater that you love, make sure you use it. If you're showing, how you designed a bookshelf and there's these 3M command strips were must to hide the cord, you can tag the 3M command strips so the consumer can click out and purchase those 3M command strips.
Got it. And Hugo added a comment about the takes. It's great for building community. And I know like engagement is obviously a big question. People always ask, like, how do I grow my following? How do I grow my community and engagement? And so the takes, even just enabling that alone could potentially help with that.
Exactly. Yep. So we're always trying to figure out new ways for you to engage with the community that you build. And then that parlays really nicely into comments. So beyond the double tap, comments allow people to comment, give feedback, and ask questions. We encourage you to reply and start a conversation under all of your ideas. And then there's reactions in real time. And so this is the set of reactions that we have on Pinterest. Again, everything is positive and meant to be really encouraging. We hear from a lot of creators that they'll do a version of the creation on one platform and then they'll do it on Pinterest and all they hear is positivity and they don't hear a lot of the negativity because it's just not the same mentality that you're in when you log on to Pinterest as you are in when you log on to other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where we go into measuring success.
Yeah,
and so
lots of questions we received on this.
So everyone should make sure you have a business account because it gives you analytics. You can hit the Creator Hub and it'll pull up with all these statistics. Impressions are the amount of eyeballs to your content. So this example, 5,000 people saw the pin. Pin clicks are how many people clicked into it to open up the experience. Saves is just that, how many people saved it to their board. Profile visits, self-explanatory, and then follows. And then I just went through this. So there's those definitions again. And then
I love that you showed like the percentages of growth. Is that based off of?
It's a 30-day. I believe it's a 30-day window.
Okay. Okay. So you can see how how that content is performing.
Right.
Based off of your previous posts and perhaps more of that if it's, really successful.
Yeah. And I found creating myself on Pinterest, 9 times out of 10, your older pins continue to outperform your newer ones because they've been around longer. So they're getting all these signals within the algorithm that are popping more in search.
Got it.
And then this just goes into the various ways you can slice and dice. So you can see it in graph form. You can click audience to see the rest of your analytics from an audience perspective only. And then one thing I didn't touch on was monthly views. What's interesting about Pinterest is I feel like on Instagram, it's like 10K micro, 60K, 100K to really matter. Here, it's also about views because it's visual search. How many monthly views you're getting are what's going to be important to your brand partners and then to your audience as well. So it's not 100% reliant on follows.
Yes. Even when we present in campaigns, that's the number. I mean, obviously it's always a greater number anyway, but that's really the number that you want to understand, right? As to, okay, maybe they don't follow this person, but how many views? So we love that as well.
Exactly. And then these are 3 sites. If you guys want a screenshot, you can go to help get more information on Pinterest, but our business site, our help center, our creator community, and then our creator blog. Then I can just go into a quick summary of the key points. Before I do that, I also wanted to let you all know that the the Pinterest brand partnership tool is on the marketplace. So there's a handshake similar to Instagram, where you can, if you're doing a paid partnership, you select paid partnership, you can tag that brand, they go in Pinterest, they accept the partnership. And so it's X, Y, and Z creator, and 3M, I'm stuck on 3M this morning, created this idea pin together. And then you or the brand can also put paid boosting behind it. So if the brand wants to boost the pin to get more eyeballs from an advertising perspective, that option is there as well.
And this just launched?
This launched, I believe, 2 months ago.
Okay, so definitely relatively new.
Yep. And then are we looking for new ways to allow users to save idea pins? Yes. So if you're on the desktop, you can hover over and it will give you, and it'll try to figure out which board you want to save it to. So that hover already happens. And then at the bottom of it, there's a save button, and then your boards pop up to save. But we're always tweaking different ways to get people to save content more, because that's we feel is our key differentiator at the moment. And then just to bucket, and then we can open it up to any remaining questions for the last few minutes. It is different here. It's a very different platform. It's always going to be different due to the nature of how it was built and how true to its origin the Pinterest has stayed. It's a little engine that could, through all these turbulent times, they've stayed very true to themselves. That's part of the reason I actually wanted to work at Pinterest. 444 million people, that's a huge audience of engaged consumers who are looking to do something. And so that's what makes this really a great place for you to build your brand. And then, of course, the idea pins are a shiny new thing that we believe there's a lot of value in. And then, of course, you can drive engagement here. And then there's opportunities for you to use the brand partnership tool. Looking into next year, we're hoping to formally launch a creator rewards program where you'll get paid for your ideas based on a gamified experience inside the app. And
love to talk. So yeah, can you explain that a little bit more? I know we chatted about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's in closed beta right now. So I don't have a definitive time it'll be rolled out to the public. But essentially, I don't know if any of you all are in like the paid Reels program that incentivizes you based on views to make videos. This is a gamified experience where it incentivizes you to create an idea pin on something that was inspiring you this month. And you can earn X, Y, and Z dollars from Pinterest. And there's also things where it's like, make one idea pin that gets 25 saves and you can earn $100. There's different like gamified experiences in that. So look for that coming out from us next year.
Amazing. It looks like there was a follow-up question on the idea pins to save. So perhaps on the mobile app is where they have to go through a couple steps in order to save.
I actually don't. I would need to check. It should be really easy to save on your phone, though. I don't know where my phone is at the moment. But the app, if you have the most current version, there should be a button on the idea pin that you can hit save and it'll pop up your boards.
Mm-hmm.
And then our carousels pinned more than single photos. We don't have clear analytics behind that. There's a lot of single photos floating around Pinterest because of the way that it's operated for the last 11 years, a photo and then a link. I think there's well over 1 billion images on the platform, period. And so we're going to continue rolling those out. One last thing I should mention before we go to is our creator management teams, we manage based on save rate. And so if you hit a certain threshold of saves, and I don't have these perfect maths figured out, essentially I took everyone that was creating within Pinterest across the lifestyle category, and the top percentage of people who had the top save rate I'm currently managing. So you get some of them have one-to-one support, some of them have just a touch point here and there. So you want to, if you become a bigger and bigger influencer on Pinterest, or creator, I should say, influencer is old, there's a chance that you're going to get an email from me and I'll want to start managing you after you perform and are getting a good save rate on the platform.
Amazing. That's great to know.
And then creator rewards overall, I don't have too much privy into that right now, how the beta's gone. I know that I was able to try it out for a little bit and I loved it. And I loved it because it was a gamified experience. I felt it was really different than me. It was more different than I'm actually personally in the paid Reels program too. And in Reels, I'm just trying to guess what video performs. this made me use all the functionality, and like it made me think about why would someone save this piece of content, and it helped me creatively make much more fun stuff versus just trying to get a ton of views to a piece of content.
Mm-hmm. New lessons learned from it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And Hugo, did you mean any lessons learned from the Creator Rewards beta?
Yes.
So essentially, I just found, like, for me, when I do content, recipes really did well on my profile. And if you think about, people save a recipe and come back to it later. But then I've done some travel. Travel's a really hot topic right now. And so travel's been doing well. I did a Mykonos pin that got a lot of traction. And I use an idea pin for that format. You can also, really important too, is you can go to trends.pinterest.com, and that's everything that people are searching for at the moment. And so that's a really, really good and strong place to start to get ideas around what you want to make, because that's already showing you what people are searching for.
Yeah, no, that's great. What was that site again?
Trends.pinterest.com.
Okay. Yeah, because people are always looking for, inspiration, but also what's working. So that's a really great resource there.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing. There was
Awesome.
a question that came in prior to the webinar, if listicles are still a thing.
I mean, I don't see listicles making sense on Pinterest, right? Because it's entertainment. I feel like that could make sense on a TikTok. But if it's a listicle about home goods you need to buy,
yeah,
then that's, I mean, that could be really interesting. But you just want to think about the use case of the platform.
Yeah. Amazing.
And Hugo, this was a hoodie gift. It's like the San Francisco, when you get inducted into the Pinterest, they give you a hoodie, even though I live in New York, but I'm sporting the San Fran Tech hoodie today.
Yes, amazing, with the Pinterest logo on it. Any other questions by our audience? I mean, I know we went through the presentation pretty thoroughly, and it covered a lot of different topics on, what is successful, people obviously wanting to know the difference between, idea pins and regular pins and all of the other content that you can create on Pinterest. I'm sure video was, we talked a lot about video there, and I'm sure some people are taking a deep breath or, exhaling and saying, okay, yes, I need to, invest in video, but it's not like Pinterest isn't going to show my, content if I don't, sort of situation. Sounds like you guys are really listening to what people are interested in and pushing that. And it sounds like things are constantly evolving, right? And you're testing out new features and just different ways where influencers can monetize, improve their brand, collaborations as well. So exciting to hear, all of those new features there. And yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, if there's any other questions, I don't think we do. So we will, we've recorded this session, and so we will be sure to email it out to our network, so you can go back to it. But I want to thank Jeremy so much for joining us today. I think, we all learned a lot about the platform, but really it almost seems like a safe platform where people can kind of go and create, the content that they want to create. And again, be able to really have brand collaborations that are successful as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see what everyone creates.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and have
you.
a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.